Oh, hello, it is me, Magical Quilt Guy. Today I'm here to inform you about the differences between a $100 down quilt versus a $600 down quilt. We're just going to go over some of the things like build quality, ethics, morals, and other things you should know when you're searching for a good camping down quilt for camping stuff. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. All right, so right here I have my $100 Naturehike CW290. It's a 290 gram of 800 fill power down. Pretty decent. And then this is my super luxurious and cozy 400 gram fill of 900 fill power ultra premium Canadian Hutterite goose down from Little Shop of Hammocks, a special little brand. So first of all, let's just go into build quality, and this is where you're going to notice the biggest differences here. So the biggest factor here when it comes to down quilts is what's called baffling. And what I mean by that is here on this bag, you can see that there are these lines running through, and these kind of chambers creates these kind of baffles. Now on cheaper quilts, you're going to find what's called a sewn through design. It's where they just simply sew through the material entirely and seal it off. It's inferior to what's infinite baffle or open baffle, where there's no distinct seal. You know, it's like, yeah, it's sealed, but creates more of like a tube or a chamber. We're just going to go up there and I'll show you. So this is especially noticeable if we just hold it up to the light. You can see all these lines running down the quilt here. And this is where your heat is going to escape from. You know, if you're covering up, you don't want your heat to escape through any of these channels or these pathways. But it does. And this is where you lose a lot of your thermal efficacy. You can kind of clearly see these lines made in the material. With a real made quilt, you're not going to have nearly the same effect. These lines running down. The reason companies do this kind of sewn through design is because, well, it just costs less to manufacture. You know, it saves on manufacturing time, saves on material, and it's just easier to put out a product. Consequently, though, you get a much inferior product. For example, this with about 300 grams of downfill is good to about 10 degrees Celsius. It says between 11 and -8. But really it's only good for about 10 Celsius. This, on the other hand, with 400 grams of downfill, so only 100 grams more of higher fill power down, is good for -15 degrees Celsius. Pretty substantial difference. So that's one of the major differences you're going to see between like a budget down camping quilt and a premium down camping quilt. But let's talk about some other really important stuff. So another really important point to notice when it comes to budget down camping quilts is that where does your down come from? Now, down's a pretty expensive material. It's, you know, very light, very hard to collect. But for $100, made in China, we can kind of just guess that the morals and practices are pretty conspicuous. I can't say for sure, I don't have any insight to the conditions, say, of how they harvest their down. However, I know that ethical companies like Little Shop of Hammocks sources their down ethically and locally and properly, and I'd rather support a company like this. To add to that, this quilt actually weighs just about 800 to 900 grams for plus 10 Celsius, whereas this one weighs 707 grams for minus 15 Celsius. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a fairly decent sleeping bag. I use it pretty much all the time as a beater. But in terms of cost to weight to performance ratio, it's actually not so great once you factor in, hey, for $100 more, you can maybe get 0 degrees Celsius with the same weight. And yeah, because at the end, you're probably going to want to upgrade from this. Unless you're really living in a place where it's always above 10 at night, just get something that goes down to 0 degrees Celsius. You'll always be happy, you'll always be warm-ish, warmer, and you won't have as many problems. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually really like this quilt and I love this one. Check out my independent reviews posted on those. Just written reviews on these to see how they are. I mean, you can kind of tell from the quality of the down. It's like 800 fill power is advertised, but I'm not quite sure how poofy it is because it almost seems like, you know, less than half of what's in this bad boy. Man, is this thing ever warm and lovely. So yeah, if you want to save a buck, think long term. I've had this thing for about 3 years now, and I kind of just wish I had spent the extra $100 and got something more than twice as good for a smaller investment. So yeah. Anyways, if you liked the video, please hit the buttons that help algorithm boost me, because I'd really appreciate it. You know, I'm just trying to grow as a channel and stuff and provide good content. So yeah, catch you next time.